I tend to ignore most negative comments on the internet. I just block and delete. But this one actually really got to me because someone said that like I didn't value my life and therefore I deserved to be disposable of. This was during the pandemic. There is a BMI capacity, and if you're over a certain BMI, you can be denied a hospital bed. So I was sharing that and I posted a photo of myself mostly nude and just wrote across my body like not disposable, and someone commented and being like, no, you deserve to die because you don't care about yourself. I actually love life. I think I'm one of the most lively people that I know. That assumption that I don't care about my life, I'm like, I know that I'm more alive than you are because I'm caring, and I want to create a world where everybody can be as authentically themselves as possible, and you obviously don't.
Can you talk a little bit about what you think your style says about you?
For me, my style is a way that I can introduce who I am before I even say anything. I can be really shy in public and in crowds, and so it's a nice icebreaker. I want to create community with queer people, with women, with gender nonconforming and trans folks. There's a difference between what I want to say and the way that it is consumed and it is perceived. I think often people think this is how I am all of the time. I've suffered with depression since I was a teenager, and when I get in those ruts, I can't even change out of the long oversized t-shirt that I've been wearing for 3 days. So when I do have the energy to create all of this, I feel really creative. I do this for me to dress myself up because my body deserves to be adorned in the ways that I want it to be adorned. I also learned that people stare at me no matter what, and might as well give them a show. Might as well give them something fun to look at.
Can we talk about the assumptions that you think people make about you based on how you look?
Being a fat woman, I have body hair everywhere. My leg hair is very, very thick and very visible. Those things are often assumed grotesque in our society. I've been told like it's unhygienic, and I'm like, how is it unhygienic for me to not shave, but it's not unhygienic for cis men not to shave? On the other hand, I think there's often this assumption that because I do dress a certain way that I have this like extreme confidence and that I'm like super comfortable in my body, and that's also not true because I do still struggle, and it's taken me such a journey to allow myself to try things that I wanted to try, because I used to think like, oh, as a fat person, I can't be a dancer, I can't hike. And these are all things that I now do joyously and regularly. When I was in college, I got involved with someone sexually who I was told that this person was a bad idea. And I was like, they give me the attention that I like. At that point, I still felt really undesirable. I still felt like no one wanted to touch me, and why would they want to touch me when I was gross? This person ended up harassing me and my family and my community. The reason why I got involved with her, even though people told me not to, was because she gave me a certain type of sexual attention that I wasn't getting from other people. It's taken me so much more of a journey to get to a point where I feel like my body is something that I deserve to share with others.
So what would you say has been your biggest struggle?
I think dealing with depression, I can get in these really dark places where I just don't get out of bed for weeks at a time. I know that I deserve a better quality of life, but I just can't get myself to do it.
Body-wise, like, were you considered like fat at a young age?
The concept of me being fat, for me personally, doesn't come until I'm like about like 8 or 10, but looking back at photos, I was fat since I was probably about 4 or 5. I remember I was in the drill team when I was 8 years old, and like the woman who made my uniform made my skirt and told me she was making my skirt like 2 inches longer so that my thighs wouldn't show. I remember also like my mom had just bought me these jeans and A month later, they didn't fit me anymore. And here I was like struggling to put them on, and my mom being like, you gotta get them on. There was also like another kid who like passed a note on the bus that was a picture of a pig with my name on it. I was a 14-year-old in Weight Watchers. My first deep depressions that I can personally remember came in high school, and they came as in the form of me not wanting to go to school. Has the way that society treated me fed into my depression at certain points in my life? Yes. I used to be like, you have to push through this, and the more that I force myself to push through it and the more that I ignore it, the bigger it gets.
When you were like a kid, with those Weight Watchers and stuff, would that like work?
It never worked long term. It only made me like really obsessed with my food and with my eating. The more I restricted myself, the more I later wanted to give myself all of the things that I had been restricting. It wasn't even that I wasn't happy with my body, it was that I was unhappy with the way that people around me reacted to me. When I was in high school, I got called into the nurse's office for being fat. The nurse said, one of your teachers noticed that you gained weight and is worried about you. Having to defend myself and like being like, I'm already working on it. Trust me, I understand that it's a problem and I'm working on it. I felt like a failure. I don't think I've ever actually told my parents that that happened to me. Like, that's how ashamed I was in the moment. It isn't until right now that I'm talking about it with you all that it's clicking in my mind how my attendance in school shifted after that. That negative attention towards my body did make my depression worse. I wanted to blend into the background as much as possible. I only felt comfortable and safe literally in my bedroom, like literally being able to shut out the world, like even the sunlight. It was just like, no one comes in here. This is my dungeon, and this is where I get to just find a way to turn myself off. I'm a person who does get hurt, and the more that I ignore that hurt, the more that it grows inside of me. I have to catch myself and be like, actually, that hurt you. It's a wound to your soul. So how would you care for a wound on your body? Care for that wound in your soul that way, you know? So admitting that those things hurt me has actually helped me to liberate myself.
Can you talk about how else you've liberated yourself as far as your relationship with food and your body?
I still have a complicated relationship with food. Practicing that intuitive eating of just like, I'm hungry, let me feed myself before my hunger grows. I've seen myself feel a lot better about myself. I see myself have a lot more energy when I don't focus all of me into thinking, these are good foods, these are bad foods, this is what I should eat, this is what I shouldn't eat. My priorities became, how do I connect? How do I build a community? How do we together fight for the liberation of all oppressed people? And at that point, making sure that I was trying to lose weight just didn't become a priority anymore. When I started going to concerts and queer parties where your uniqueness is celebrated, those moments have also helped me deprioritize trying to fit a mold that I'm never gonna fit. I love just being in a room full of people, closing my eyes and moving my body like nobody's looking, because realistically nobody is. I now still love to close my eyes when I dance just because it's fun, but I can do it without closing my eyes.
So can you talk a little bit more about your journey that you kind of touched on at the beginning around dating?
I grew up in a Catholic home. I felt shame around my sexuality, even outside of my weight. It was undoing that and then being comfortable in my queerness, but feeling like nobody wanted to touch me, like I didn't deserve to be touched. It was starting to date and hook up with fellow fat people and being like, I find you so hot, and I know you find me really hot, so I know we're both really hot, and I know we want to create pleasure for each other in this moment. That has helped me a lot in my journey to get to a point where I can ask for the things that I want, date people who treat me with kindness and respect. I know my value, and does it make dating harder? Yeah, it does. I'm gonna be really honest. There's a lot of really fat phobic people out there, even in the queer community. I was a go-go dancer at a pride party, and the amount of money that I made versus the amount of money that the thin people made was not the same. Sometimes people don't even feel comfortable like putting the money in my underwear, which is like common when you're a go-go dancer. Like that is, yes, I know that's gonna happen. I am consenting to that. But people are like really awkward with like, should I touch you? Should I? And I see them fully touching other people. So those are little reminders that people still have a lot of work to do around their fat phobia. I hope that one day we reach a level of liberation where it's not that way, but I don't think it's gonna happen during my lifetime, and I'm okay with that because I take care of me.
How do you deal now with like doctors? Have you found that there's any like new way of thinking that you've come across with that, or do you still have to battle?
It is a struggle. It's a struggle for all fat people to find proper health care. I've literally gone in for a sty in my eye, and the doctor was like, let's talk about your weight. And I was like, can we talk about the sty in my eye first? I have PCOS, and it took me forever to get diagnosed because as a teenager, when I stopped getting my period, the only thing that they would tell me is you need to lose weight. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Weight gain is one of the symptoms. My facial hair, I didn't get diagnosed properly until I was 25. And it was because of my weight. It's that assumption. It's that assumption that I live a certain lifestyle. What I eat doesn't always mean it is reflected in my body either. I have plenty of very thin friends that eat all kinds of things that I don't eat. Friends who are like way thinner than me are like, I don't go, they're like, I hate hiking. I really appreciate about this last doctor that I had is that she didn't make those assumptions. She asked me that simple question of, do you want to talk about this? Opened me up to, yeah, let me listen.
When was the last time you cried?
This past weekend, my grandmother had been staying with us. I asked her what she does for fun, and she said cook and work. Seeing what she's had to put her body through in order to push her family out of poverty. A lot of guilt around me having the ability to find those things that she never did. A lot of pain just seeing someone that I love so much deteriorate that way because this world has beat her down a lot. It was really hard 2 months that she was with us because of that.
What's your favorite part of your body?
I really like my face. I know you asked me for one, but I have a lot. I love my thighs. I love having big thighs. My dogs jump on them and just stand there, and I love that. Those are my three favorite: boobs, face, and thighs.
When do you feel the most beautiful?
I feel really beautiful when I'm closing my eyes and dancing. I feel really beautiful when I'm huffing and puffing up a mountain. I feel really beautiful in those moments that I take after every shower to just lay naked in my bed, just sitting on the bed naked and snapping a shot of myself. Taking pictures of myself has been one of the best practices for my relationship with my body.
Last question. Why in your body, in your journey, in your skin, why is it a good place to be?
Because my body is really strong and surprises me in the things that it can do. My first experience hiking was a backpacking trip. Halfway through the hike into our campsite, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And when I finally made it, I was so impressed and happy with my body. I love how I can transform my body. You know, today you saw one version of me, but there's so many other ways that I dress myself. The ability to shape shift in my body is magical. I have come to feel at home. My body is home. My ability to know its needs and to recognize its changes and to take care of it in the ways that I can have allowed me to feel present. That's been a magical experience.
It's amazing, beautiful. Thank you so, so much. This is so incredibly beautiful, and we're so grateful. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video.
Skillshare is an online community that offers thousands of inspiring classes for creators or for those who want to get started on their creative journey.
Skillshare members can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, or get completely lost in their creativity.
Members have access to a variety of different classes ranging from film and video production to music to illustration to design. One of the classes that we're most interested in taking right now on Skillshare is Powerful Storytelling Today, Strategies for Crafting Great Content.
Like Skillshare, we believe so much in the creative community. Everybody has the ability to be creative.
The first 1,000 StyleLikeU subscribers to click the link in the description below will receive 1 month free of Skillshare so that you can start exploring your creativity today.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of What's Underneath with Melba Martinez.
For more episodes like this, you can subscribe to StyleLikeU on YouTube.
And don't forget to click the bell so that you're reminded of every time we drop a new episode on Thursdays.